power of Christ compels you. Hey guys, welcome to the third annual Halloween special. This year I've decided to set my gaze on Satan. I want to start this off with a lesser known satanic 70s film. And that movie is the 1977 The Sentinel. How this film flew under the radar quite the way it did is an absolute mystery to me. I mean, in certain ways, it's dated more or less in like what would be allowed in a film these days, but conceptually and like visually, it was kind of ahead of its time. I mean, like the architecture was all beautiful, the cinematography, the coloring, the movie, it was a pretty looking movie, even when it was ugly. So it had Dirty Dandridge himself, Chris Sarandon, my man, Burgess Meredith, and actually Jeff Goldblum was in it for a very brief, like 2 scenes in the movie. And yeah, like most people just don't know what this is. A lot of avid horror fans are a little bit more familiar with it. But it's essentially about this woman. When she was a girl, she attempted suicide, and now she's like moving into this apartment building with all of these very eccentric folks, one of whom, you know, is Burgess Meredith. There was like a couple evil lesbians that live like a floor down or up from her. So there's just like all these like weird characters, and they're all very, I mean, but they're for the most part very welcoming and inviting to her, particularly Burgess Meredith. And something just seems off. And in the top floor, there's a priest who is blind, and he literally never leaves his room. They'll basically send him like from the Vatican, like refreshments, whatnot, but he's literally just always seated looking out the window at the highest floor in the building. He's the one character that she doesn't really interact with at all because he's just a recluse. I don't really want to give away too much, but there is something nefarious going on in the hotel. The final act, in my opinion, is really creepy. One thing that they did that, again, wouldn't fly is they used like actual like kind of circus freaks for certain things, which, I mean, whatever. No comment. The movie has like a slow burn, but when it goes for a scare, it really goes for a scare. And also, not for nothing, but for the 1970s, this is a pretty hairy freaking movie. There's some pretty decent depictions of gore. I mean, nothing that I would say would really, you know, I mean, obviously like Argento made Suspiria around the same time. Suspiria was exponentially more violent. Excuse me. There's a lot of like sexuality and stuff in the movie too. Some scenes that are pretty graphic. Again, apart from like the couple like politically correct things that wouldn't fly today, I feel that the movie was very much ahead of its time. I'd really like to go into, all right, you know what? Okay, look. So here's the thing. In order for me to really talk about this movie the way I want, I do have to kind of talk about the ending, or I would like to talk about the ending, okay? So if you haven't seen it, just take my word for it. It has my highest recommendation. Just check it out. It's really cool. It's kind of quirky, a little different. It's a good experience. And like I said, it's a good film that kind of flew under the radar, all right? But I am going to talk about the ending now. So if you haven't seen it, now's your time to tiptoe out, all right? 3, 2, 1. So essentially, the hotel is the gate to hell. There's a little panel that is revealed at the end of the movie that says, "Abandon all hope, ye who enter here." And all the circus freaks that come out and stuff, they're like the minions of hell that just crawl up from the shadows. And you don't even like really see hell. They just come up from below. It's really creepy. It's really, really creepy, really, really off-putting. But essentially, the priest at the top floor, he's the Sentinel, okay? And his job was to be there, to be a post watching over the gates of hell. He's keeping them where they are. But the whole point of the movie is, and with this woman's past of sin, having tried to kill herself, there's basically like a debt that she has to pay. And her redemption or repentance part of it is to essentially become the next Sentinel. It's a passing of the torch. The priest walks out like through all of the minions of hell, just like clawing and grabbing, and he's just holding the cross over his head, and he passes it on to her, and then they all go back to hell. And she's up there, and it's like you realize she's going to be spending decades just kind of just keeping watch, which is eerie in and of itself. It was definitely like a lot more kind of Vatican I, don't you screw up. But yeah, man, really, really, really cool movie. If you've stayed this far, you've probably seen it, so you've seen, you know. If you disagree, let me know in the comments. I want to hear about, I want to hear your opinion. But yeah, guys, Sentinel, awesome movie. And that's all she wrote.